Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Before My Time. I am your host, Gelsey Lori. We are joined, as always, with our co-host, friend, and producer, Matt Kelly, and we are going to talk about the musical spectacular Easter Parade.
Happy Easter to you.
Here's a hat that you must take home. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Here's a lid for my lady's dome. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
We're here to entertain you. We'll sing your songs for good times, the best times. You can't go wrong. We'll two-step, a new step. It won't be long when the Dixielands are playing. Soon you'll be swaying, so come on, sing along.
Gelsey, Sunday is Easter, and as far as I'm concerned, I didn't know that there was really any Easter movies. I didn't, outside of, like, I guess maybe The Passion of the Christ. And then
Sorry, I don't know why that made me giggle. Little Jewish girl over here.
You suggested Easter Parade, which as soon as I saw this cast, I was like, yes, this is what we're going to do.
I can't believe you've never seen this movie. Like, guys, Matt texted me and he's like, where can I stream it? And I was like, oh, here, there. And he's like, okay, never seen it before. And I didn't know. I, like, all in caps. Wait, what?
Yeah.
It's one of my all-time favorite musicals.
See, you should have known that because I think when we did the Holiday Inn episode, I said this is only the second Fred Astaire movie I've ever seen behind
right.
Top Hat.
That was a long time ago, Matt. We've done so many episodes since then. I can't remember everything.
Well, so here's what I'm going to say. I have very few notes, but I was talking to another one of my podcast co-hosts this morning because he asked what we were recording, and I said, oh, we're doing Easter Parade. And he goes, what's that about? And I said, honestly, I barely remember. I'm like, it's one of those classic films where the plot is like third in importance to just like you're about to watch a bunch of people at the peak of their craft just do their craft very, very well for an hour and a half.
I disagree with that. I can give you a really short little synopsis.
Well, so here's what I vaguely remember is that I feel like this is kind of, it's ironic that the only other Fred Astaire movie I've seen is Holiday Inn because in a lot of ways I feel like it hits similar beats. It's like, here's a bunch of entertainers. Yeah, it's like a bunch of entertainers, and here's a bunch of big show tunes, and maybe two or three of these entertainers are fighting for the affection of one particular gal. And like
this one's a little different, but in this lavish musical, Broadway star Dawn Hughes, played by Fred Astaire, his dancing partner, played by Ann Miller, she goes solo, and Dawn declares that he can make a hit performer out of the next dancer he sees. This turns out to be the inexperienced Hannah, played by Judy Garland, who bristles as Dawn tries to make her into his old partner. But as he realizes that he is falling in love with Hannah, Dawn knows that he must let her grow into her own kind of dancer if he wants her to reach her full potential. That's kind of like leaves out a lot of the plot, but
it is. I had a smile from ear to fucking ear just watching this movie. I was so charmed by it.
It might be, I can't believe I'm going to say this, it might be a more charming film than Holiday Inn. And you know how much I love Holiday Inn.
I know you love Holiday Inn. I would agree with that. I would actually even say, because I'm the person who puts White Christmas above Holiday Inn, but I think that this is even more charming than White Christmas. Like, I just think that this movie, I wrote down, I am 7 minutes into this movie. There has not even been a line of true dialogue yet. It's just been a full-blown musical number. And like
Happy Easter.
Yeah,
I love that part. Ugh.
Well, the second the tap dance drum thing happens, I was losing my mind. I'm like, this is so fucking good.
Literally the second number, it's Happy Easter starts. That's when he's hat shopping, which I love. Just the girls coming in, modeling the hats, because everyone, I'm a hat whore. Drum Crazy's next. I think Drum Crazy might be one of my top Fred Astaire solo numbers. He's just so brilliant. Every film he does, and I read his autobiography, which I highly recommend, but he talks about his creation process in different films and really getting creative with what the number's about and what new props he can use and incorporate. And then he kind of trains. We know in Holiday Inn, my favorite dance number, and this is my all-time number one favorite dance number is from Holiday Inn. It's the 4th of July firecracker number. Nothing gets better than that.
I don't even think I messaged you about this. So I bought the Holiday Inn DVD for when we did that episode, and I listened to the commentary track on that, and they go into detail about how I'm pretty sure they said like that was essentially like a single take. Like Fred was just like, all right, I'm just going to do this thing with the firecrackers and we'll see how it goes.
So good. I know we always hear it before my time get into the conversation of who's the better dancer, which actually I have notes on. There's a reason we're going to come back to that in today's episode. But between Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, and I always pick Fred Astaire. Like, I'm not dissing that Gene Kelly is an incredible dancer, but Fred Astaire has this essence, this thing that is just, and to do it in one take, like you can't beat Fred.
I would say that it's comparable to this, and this is going to sound like a diss, and it's not intended to be, but like Gene Kelly is like when you're watching the greatest ballerina that's ever performed, and you're like, that is so beautiful, it's so seamless, it's artful, right? Fred Astaire to me is like the 40s version of like when you see a breakdancer where you're just like, I could never in a million years train my body to do the things that like a human being is able to do. Like, I just think that Fred Astaire has so much more, it's more adventurous. It's more stylish. Like Gene Kelly just feels like very regimented of like, I train to be the best at this very specific thing. Yeah. Whereas like Fred Astaire's like, I've learned how to do that thing, and now I'm going to try to break every rule imaginable and see how weird we can get it.
That's almost kind of what he talks about is like his kind of experimental studio time that he goes into play with things, be it even just simply a cane or like it's the scenery around him, what he can jump on and off of. It's incredible. And he does it a lot so much in Drum Crazy, where if you haven't seen the film, which I'm always going to say this, pause this episode right now and go watch Easter Parade.
It's only $3 to rent on Amazon
It's
Prime.
worth every penny. It's a tradition in my family. Every single Easter, we watch this movie. And he's in a toy shop, and basically the premise of this song is he's going in, he's buying his dance partner and girlfriend, who's played by Ann Miller, Nadine, and he's going to get her Easter stuff. So he goes hat shopping, he buys her a new hat, then he goes into a toy shop and he sees this toy bunny, and he's going to buy her a bunny, and this little boy swoops in and grabs it. And so this whole dance is showing how great drums are, so that the little boy puts the bunny down and goes to a drum, and then he snags the bunny and walks out. It's just brilliantly done the way he does it. But it's set in this toy shop, and there's drums everywhere. So he's doing his Fred Astaire thing, dancing around and incorporating every size drum imaginable in a toy shop, be it kick it, playing it, and it's mind-blowing.
It's legitimately
and charming as fuck.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I agree with you. The firework dance in Holiday Inn like shattered my brain. But this was also another moment where I was just like, I remember watching it and thinking the rest of this movie could be dog shit. And that scene alone, I'd be like, this is a 3 or 4-star movie just for how awesome that scene is. Luckily, there's like 3 other dance scenes that I wrote down where I'm like, this song's great. This tap number is great. One of
my other favorite dance numbers is in this movie. We'll get there because it's. I do want to go a little bit into some fun facts. Easter Parade was a song written by Irving Berlin. It was not written for this movie. This movie was actually kind of written around the song. The song was
similar to White Christmas, right?
Exactly.
The movie White Christmas was written around the popularity of the song. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. This song first appears in the 1933 Broadway review, A Thousand Cheer. And then again, it was in Holiday Inn in 1942. They sang it, which if you do want to learn more about Holiday Inn, we do have an episode, number 59. Go check that out. And So then this comes out in 1948. This was MGM's highest grossing film of 1948. It killed. And it was their second highest musical for MGM in the 40s after Meet Me in St. Louis, who's also Judy Garland. Another great film. She's just, you fall in love with her every time you see her. As nuts as she starts to get. Unfortunately, so Judy Garland was 26 when they filmed this, and this kind of was the end of her career. A ripe age of 26, and she just was on way too many medications. She was having crazy nervous breakdowns. You know, we should really do a whole episode on Judy Garland. It's just too much to get into because the entertainment industry, talk about fucked her up the ass. It's unfair.
Did you see the movie a couple years ago, Judy?
Yeah, I did.
I mean, obviously I wasn't like a diehard Judy Garland fan at the time that I saw it, but I remember feeling like it did a great job of giving me at least the vibe that she, as much as she was like sucked into the drugs and a whole lot of other stuff, I feel like even towards the end, she really truly appreciated what she had ultimately, though. You know what I mean? Like she loved the fans that she still had. She loved to go on stage, even if it wasn't, you know, the arenas that she was used to. Like that her drive of just being Judy Garland was more than enough for her. Yeah. So, I mean, it sucks. It sucks that this was kind of like the downward trajectory of her career after the fact.
It's really sad. So Betty Hutton plays Annie Oakley, but originally it was supposed to be Judy Garland was cast, and they did bring her on. They filmed one dance number, which was the big a Sue number, and on the DVD, which I had, they had deleted scenes. On the DVD, they have the one scene they filmed with Judy Garland doing the number, and it's the whole, costume production, and you can just see her eyes wandering. It's a really sad thing to watch and see that performance. And that's after that, I think she collapsed a couple times on set, and they're like, we can't afford to keep her. Like, she's going to cost us too much money. And she just was not well. But actually, Judy Garland's husband, Vincent Minnelli, was originally supposed to direct Easter Parade, but her psychiatrist advised them to not work together.
Okay.
Which I think that's a healthy thing for any marital couple.
That's a good therapist right there.
Especially if you're having a mental breakdown. So we do have Judy Garland that comes in and is cast. So Fred Astaire was not originally cast as this role as Dawn. Gene Kelly was supposed to be that comes back in. Gene Kelly was originally cast for this movie, and he broke his foot. So he suggested, and I want to go back how, he suggested that Fred Astaire do it. And so he totally had the green light and wasn't, bitter or anything. And Fred Astaire was retired for 2 years. So he came out of retirement. He was focusing on his racehorse at the time. He wasn't done dancing, but he was a little exhausted creatively. But then after the 2 years, he's someone that just can't not work and can't not perform and dance, and loved it. So he was happy to come out of retirement and do this. And this started actually a new revival of his career for another 10 years. And he was 49 when they filmed this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. He's 49 and Judy Garland's 26.
I feel like that's just something I come to expect in like the 30s and 40s movies. The biggest one for me is I can't even remember which one it is. It could be both of them. No, it's definitely Holiday. Holiday Inn, I feel like, is another one where you're like, ooh, there is a massive age gap between Bing Crosby and the girl he's trying to woo in this film. You can just visually tell.
Same with Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, Singing in the Rain's another big one. Yeah, with Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds.
Debbie Reynolds.
She looks like 19.
She was 19.
Yeah,
she was 19 and he was 39.
Yeah,
well, I guess that's what, 20 years.
That's 20. 20 years matters when one of you is 19. 20 years doesn't matter if the youngest one's 39.
He married a 17-year-old girl when he was 29. And he met her when she was 15 and he was 27. That's a bit so the thing about Gene Kelly, the reason I have all these fun facts is, and this goes into another reason why I like Fred Astaire more. So yes, Gene Kelly's an amazing dancer, but he was not easy to work with, and he has a really bad reputation. Obviously,
Debbie Reynolds had a breakdown on Singing.
Debbie Reynolds had a breakdown. She would just work him into the ground. It's really iconic. Good Morning scene, they shot from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. And she said, like, her feet were bleeding, this, that. But in the dance studios, like, she really wasn't that hardcore of a dancer, especially, like, to the caliber that he was. And she left the studio and went into a different studio and, like, hid under the piano and cried. And it was actually Fred Astaire, who was in there working on his own stuff for a different film, that comforted her and was like, I'll help you, and helped Debbie Reynolds. And I was like, that just shows you what kind of a person, like, you know, just the difference of their work. And Fred Astaire was, you know, somewhat of a slave driver. Like, he worked his ass off. He's in the studios rehearsing. You know, it wasn't like he rehearsed less, but it was just kind of that. Even it was Esther Williams worked with him for what movie was it? Take Me Out to the Ball Game, and she said it was pure misery working with him. A friend and co-worker, co-director, he says, Gene as a performer was among the wonders of the 20th century. His agility and his talents at being what he would call a song and dance man were very winning. What I didn't like, and I know this is not appropriate now, was his manner off screen. He could be difficult with me and everyone else. It was always a complicated collaboration, partly because when he began, he was a star and I was in the chorus. Then we became co-choreographers. It wasn't always the happiest thing, but I didn't want to emphasize this today. It sounds like bad manners. Oh, he's still being all polite. So he's a co-choreographer. He just has a really bad, even Sid Charisse, who's one of the best. She was in Singing in the Rain. She's the girl in the green dress. One of the most brilliant dancers. She would always leave covered in bruises if she worked with him. And she said her husband could tell if she'd been working with Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly, just based on the bruising.
The vibe that I get is this, right? There are people in this world who are hard workers in general. And there are people who are hard workers that think, well, because I'm putting in this much work, you need to match me. And that seems like a Gene Kelly mindset, where there is other people who work really hard and are aware that they are inhumanely working hard and try to be empathetic to the fact that other people will never be able to, quote unquote, get on their level. And I get the vibe that Fred Astaire is more of that person, where he's like, I know that I'm a psychopath. I don't need to make you match my energy level. I just want to see that you're putting in the work.
Just be nice about it and not be such. So I said Gene Kelly broke his foot, and that's why. Do you know how he broke his ankle? He was playing volleyball and he lost. He was so mad about it, he stomped his foot and it broke. Like, that just goes to show,
Gene
like,
Kelly.
It wasn't. I know.
Get a better last name. You're bringing me down.
Oh. Should be a Lori. So we got Garland and Astaire together. This is the one and only time we see Judy Garland and Fred Astaire ever work together. And it's sad because what a amazing duo. Like, their chemistry is so great. They were supposed to also star in Royal Wedding, but Jane Powell did it instead. Like I said, Judy didn't do so well after this. I did mention Sid Charisse earlier, the dancer that was in Singing in the Rain and that. She was originally cast as Nadine, but she had a torn ligament in her knee, so she had to step down. Everyone's just broken. It kind of made me, I don't want to say it made me smile seeing all these injuries, because I understand more than anybody, but it does make me a little more comforted that these amazing dancers who I put on a pedestal, I'm like, okay, they tear their knee ligaments too, and that. It kind of made the injuries more like, you know, because even though if you're in a physical sport or art, when you get injured, you still feel like, why couldn't I keep up?
Yeah,
everyone else can. And so I don't know, it kind of brought some comfort to me through all my aches and pains.
I understand that. I think that when you're working really hard at something, and it's what you want to be, the thing you're known for, your career or whatever. Anytime that you have even the slightest bump in the road, you feel like, well, now I'll never succeed if I can't do blank. And then finding out that, like, the people who inspired you also went through those exact same troubles and bumps in the road. You're like, okay, well, they still did all right for themselves. Like, you know, it's like when you find out that your favorite band, like, was in 7 other shitty bands that never got signed and no one's ever heard of, you feel a little less bad that, like, your high school band didn't take off. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It is, yeah. No, it's kind of, we were talking about it earlier, even with admitting to imposter syndrome. It's like, it's nice to hear people that have made it that go, I am so insecure. And you're like, great, okay, if they're feeling that way, I feel valid in feeling this way. But so anyway, Sid Charisse did not take on the role, and in comes Ann Miller. I have so much to say about Ann Miller. First of all, she's one of my all-time favorite dancers, all-time favorite stars. So her big show-stopping number in this movie is Shakin' the Blues Away. I did a tap dance to Shakin' the Blues Away when I was like 5. It looked just like hers. No. And so I fell in love with this song at a very young age. And I was introduced to this movie at a very young age. And so I always, because I danced this number myself as a child, you kind of connect with then the girl doing it for real on the movie. And you're like, I love her. I want to be like her. So I had a very early developed passion for Ann Miller. She's considered one of the greatest tap dancers of all times. You could just watch this number and you're like, holy shit.
And I was going to say, I only wrote down a couple notes, and one of them was the tap dance number Shake Your Blues Away is insane in all caps.
Insane. She is brilliant. I also highly recommend the movie, which is Gene Kelly, On the Town. Ann Miller's in that one, and she does a song called Prehistoric Man, and she's just so adorable. But no, here's the crazy thing. I do want to say real quick that a fellow actor said about her working on this film that she was a kick to work with. We'd all be on the floor. Like, she was just such a joy to work with. And it really broke my heart reading about her life. As much as I loved her, I'd never really deep dove into what she was all about in this sense. She did that number with a back brace on because she was recovering from a fractured back. So not only is that tap number incredible, she has a back brace on, and she had broke her back, had pinched nerves. She broke her back because her husband at the time threw her down a flight of stairs when she was 9 months pregnant. Great. So she was working when she was 13. She lied about her age. She had to go. Her mom was deaf, I believe, and her husband, who is her father, sorry, did I say that correctly? Ann Miller's father was very abusive and cheated on his mother, and so he was out of the picture. She ended up having to go back to him because he was a lawyer and to lie about her age. So when she was 13, she pretended she was 18. Did had a huge debut and stage. I mean, she was a prodigy from a young age. Go down the line, she falls in love. She kind of always was like a more playboy millionaire catcher. She gets married to this man who was 40 years older than her, and he ended up being very clearly abusive. Threw her down the stairs, all these like really sad things. She ends up divorcing him, goes on to do do Easter Parade, and then that kicks off her career. Then she ends up falling in love with this other man who she actually does, because then she like didn't stop. It's crazy. Like, she got married so young and obviously blinded and this, that, and she should be so jaded. Like, she's seen her father have infidelity. This man is like abusive, and she still had this hope for love. So she meets this man, falls in love with him. Also, she married a like millionaire, this guy that was abusing her. And when they got a divorce, she only got $20,000, which was barely enough to cover her medical bills. Ugh. And she was she had to stay in bed for like weeks because she broke her back. Oh, and the baby it survived the fall, but then when she went into immediate labor and the baby didn't survive 3 hours. So tragic. So she finally meets a man that she does fall in love with, and he can't, his name is William O'Connor. They fall in love like immediately, but his ex-wife wouldn't sign the divorce papers. And because of religious backgrounds on both sides, that it wasn't approved, like, she kind of had to move on, and it was heartbreaking. So finally she lets him go. It's devastating. She marries someone later, or meets someone, and goes through with, okay, I'll marry him. And like literally her true love, O'Connor, calls her. She doesn't get the phone call because she's literally at the altar. and he gets a divorce, it says, I don't care, and is like, he denounces his religion so he can be with Ann Miller. That call doesn't come in soon enough, so she gets married to this other man. It's like this like movie. It's so heartbreaking. And
it's like a rom-com with the wrong ending.
Yes.
It's really sad. That sucks.
So sad. She never got the call. Yeah. And so
you
they
had told me
both,
that you
like,
were researching this, so I actively like avoided any information on her so that I could hear this for the first time on this show.
Oh,
it's all so tragic
I
and
know.
sad.
It's so sad. And then the husband that she does end up marrying, she doesn't know, ends up being a huge like party animal. His parties would often last for 3 days. And, you know, she's like, I was down for a good time, but not to that. They did stay married for a year. Oh, yeah. And then she discovers that William O'Connor suffered a heart attack and died not long ago. So she never got to speak to him. So she really just gave up on true love. She never got to have, you know, any of the actual love that she had. And her husband was cheating on her like crazy. Like he told her, darling, these are my mistresses, but you're my queen. You know, about cheating and this, that. And she sent him out the door. She said, pack your bags.
I mean, good for her on that front, at least. Stand up for
Yeah.
herself a little bit. But I hate that shit. It's like,
I know.
they're
And it's
meaningless,
just-
so it's not cheating because I don't care about them. Like, go to hell. What a fucking sleazy fucking line.
It really made me so sad. And it's more impressive also that she did this incredible dance number with a recovering broken back and a brace on. But anyways, back to if you notice in the last dance that she does, after when Fred Astaire and Judy Garland go to watch her performance and they do like the calendar girl number, and she goes back behind, she has red heels on and she goes back behind and comes back out with flats on. So every time she's dancing with Fred Astaire, she's always in flats because of the height.
Okay, makes sense.
Fred Astaire's not that tall of a guy, so you will see that they always try to get either shorter girls or some flats on. Yeah. In the number Fellow with an Umbrella, when Judy Garland's walking, they had problems. The rain or the water kept making the dye from the feather run down her face. And so they had to coat the feather in Vaseline to stop that. So if you look at different shots of it, the feather looks different depending on what shot, like what angle they're going at. I thought that was kind of a fun little.
I do want to call out the other song that I loved enough to write a note about it. The ragtime violin song that Judy Garland does.
Love that one too. I always love, they do this in White Christmas too, when you, at the beginning, Bing Crosby and
Danny Kaye.
thank you. Oh my gosh, my brain was just like went blank for a minute.
I had to think
Danny
for a second
Kaye.
because I was thinking Holiday Inn.
Me
So
too. I was like Fred Astaire, and I was like, that's Holiday Inn. That's exactly where I was at. I was like, oh my God, get your shit together, gals. I love when they kind of do like a vaudeville montage. Nothing makes
I
me
think we
happier
talked
than that.
Or you and I have even talked about in Singing in the Rain, like the Fit is a Fiddle, like minute-long song is one of my favorite parts in that whole movie.
Yes.
Like there's
Yes,
just something very
it's-
charming about that stuff.
It's so good, which I do. I love that song in this one as well. It's great. Not Fit as a Fiddle, but the ragtime violin. I agree, and I love that. I love a piano. I love the moment when he's like, "Wait, do it your way," and just kind of gives her that leeway. It's incredible and it's great. I also love this one got a huge reception. We're a couple of swells, them dressed like bums.
Yes.
Going down. Like Judy Garland's just too damn, like you can't deny her star quality. She does have that thing, that sparkle in her eye that's just so great. Which brings me to one of my favorite parts of the movie, when he's wanting to see if she has that it factor, and he has her walk down because he wants to see if just walking down the avenue, if she naturally makes men's heads turn, if she has that thing. And he's watching and no one's obviously looking. And so then she starts making that, like, you know, they're walking and all of a sudden everyone's just snapping their head looking at her, and he's like, wow, look at this. And it shows her face and she's making like the most ridiculous, like funny face, cheeks pressed out just to get them to look. I think it's hilarious. I do want to talk about one more dance. I love how most of this I didn't actually talk about the movie. I talked about it.
That's all right.
Personal lives.
No, but like I said, like here's the thing. I can make fun of these movies for having very much the same plots or being very kind of predictable, but like that's the same reason why I like rom-coms and Hallmark Christmas movies. There's a comfort to them. You're not watching it because you're like looking for the big twist and the surprise dark ending. You're watching it because you want to see the stuff that we're talking about, the dance numbers, the comedy beats, like the plot is like and that's what I meant when I said it's like the third most important thing when making these movies. It's about the numbers and the actors and the comedy.
Absolutely.
And then just, you write the basic structure that you need to get to those beats. And this was fantastic. I mean, this legitimately might be like one of at the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised if when I do my like top 10 movies I saw for the first time in 2023, like this is probably going to be on there. I fucking loved watching this movie.
It's so good. And so one of my all-time favorite numbers is when Fred Astaire has his solo number and he does Steppin' Out with My Baby. Wow. Yeah. Wow. And even you have to remember this is 1948. So when they kind of have that effect of everyone's on normal speed and he's dancing in slow-mo. Like now we can all do that on our phones. But that's impressive for 19. And I'm pretty sure he had that idea. It was always stuff like that he'd be like, what if we tried? It was his idea, actually. It was, in his book, he talks about when he thought about this, like I forget how they did that effect, having to like double the film or something, but it's so cool. And it just goes back again. I love him going around and dancing with all the other girls, where sometimes this happens in films where his co-star is not the best dancer, where Judy Garland's not a dancer, she's a singer and actress. But I love when they then give him a number where he can dance with girls who are dancers, and it just to step up, it's great. The love song in this is It Only Happens When I Dance With You, and actually that song was inspired when Judy Garland was posing for photographs with Irving Berlin, and she casually said that perhaps their cheeky pictures would inspire a song, and it did, and that's the love song that gets put in there. So I like that as well. I know, yeah.
No, this was a great
This
call.
is a 10 out of 10. I absolutely love this. It's cute. There's the whole joke about her not knowing her left and right, and so she has to put the rubber band so she knows which is her left and right when they're dancing. But in real life, Judy Garland did kind of have trouble with her left and right, and it was a running gag. And so at the very end, when he kind of proposes within the song, he shows her the ring, and she puts out her right hand. That was actually a mistake, and she puts out her right, and Fred Astaire slaps it to give her left, and she didn't know. I thought that was really cute.
That's hilarious. I am going to seek out a DVD or Blu-ray and probably digest all of those special features and hopefully a commentary track as well.
I would love that. I need to get my hands on that. You could understand why this is an annual watch for me.
No, for sure. Whereas when we did Holiday Inn, I said I liked it, but I don't think it would be a yearly watch. I want to watch Easter Parade every April from here on out. It's got a nice homey, cozy vibe. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Judy Garland after this commercial break.
TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
It is mind-blowing
and heartbreaking
how many original scripts are written every year but are never made.
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts.
Movies made of paper.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Free!
I saw one thing when I was doing a little bit of research for this that didn't really fit into Easter Parade, but it is about Judy Garland, and I thought that I would bring it to you because I think you'd appreciate it. We've done an episode on Elvis, right? Mm-hmm. Now, as you know, Judy Garland has become a bit of a gay icon, right? There's people who refer to themselves as the friends of Dorothy and all of that. I had never heard this before. The openly gay comedian Bob Smith once offered a comedic take on the tragic figure theory, imagining Elvis as the king and Judy as the queen, and debating what the idols had in common. And his breakdown was, Elvis had a drinking problem, but Judy could drink Elvis under the table. Elvis gained more weight, while Judy lost more weight. Elvis was addicted to painkillers, and there was no pill that could ever stop Judy's pain. And I thought that's like, it's not even necessarily comedic. It's beautifully tragic. It's beautifully tragic. But I thought, you know what, that kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, that like Judy Garland really, we do have to do a whole episode on her because the layers of who she was just as a humanitarian outside of an entertainer was really cool. And I saw that her daughter had openly said, like, she hated that people painted her as a tragic figure because she felt like there was nothing tragic about her life. And it's like, that's kind of almost inspirational in a weird way of like, you know what? Yeah. Like, is she as famous as she was in the 30s and 40s? No. Is she still getting to do what she loves and use that to fund her life? Like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
You know, it comes back to my theory. I was just having this conversation with a friend because in the entertainment world, a lot of times it's either like people like, you got movies or Broadway. If you don't do those, you failed. And there is this stigma, and it's like kind of shitty. And, you know, I'm at a theme park, and a lot of people do look down on that and kind of just like, oh, theme parks, I'm better than that, this, that. And I was like, you know, at the end of the day, I was like, I'm doing what I love and I'm getting paid for it. I'm on a stage performing and I'm paying bills. So I was like, what? Now, granted, I have the backing of a career of like, I've already checked the boxes of doing the big things. And so that's put ease at me to come back to a theme park. But yeah, I know a lot of people doing jobs they hate, and then they look down on us doing the thing we love, but they're like, oh, but it's a theme park. I'm holding out for the bigger thing. And I'm like, what's the difference? A stage is a stage.
What's the difference? And it's the same with when I do One Hit Thunder and we get to have these other one-hit wonder musicians come on. And we have not talked to a single artist who's upset that they're only known for their one hit. They're just excited that that one hit allowed them 20 years later to continue to tour and make music as their career.
Yeah, and I love that outlook because I think we're kind of like caged and prisoned into this idea of success and this idea of what we should. You know, it's like it's never good enough. You're always climbing, which I can fall victim to that so easily, and it's something I struggle with. Yeah, I mean, we all do because it's just part of, I don't think it's just entertainment. I think people in the corporate world feel this. I think anything, and I think being able to sit and just be, grateful for where you're at, but just appreciate that we're all doing the thing, whether it's on our journey to try to get there or on a smaller scale, a bigger scale. It's just like you're still doing it, and the work kind of almost doesn't look any different. If you were up higher, maybe the dollars are higher and more people know you, but your day-to-day is kind of going to look the same in a weird way. You're going to be doing the work. And so it's just appreciating that you love the process and you are doing it. Cool. Yay.
And there's definitely, I'm sure that there's a chart that I could point to if I wanted to look for it, where it's like at a certain point, you hit a level of success where the enjoyment starts to go away, where you can't live a normal life. You can't like just go to the grocery store. Like,
well, I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that it's, even when you rise to a level, say it be a corporate position you want or stardom, you get used to it. And that is something they've shown in psychology, and it's called hedonic adaptation. Be it, I want to make X amount of money and then I'll be happy. And then say you start making X amount of money, you are happy for a while because you're like, yay, I have millions. And then it becomes your norm. And then your kind of baseline goes back to now this is your new baseline and you're not happy anymore. And that's what the hedonic adaptation line is. And it's a perfect example of like my dream job was the specific role I had at Cirque in the Beatles show. A year and a half in, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm depressed. Because I got used to it. And it's a very bizarre thing. You get used to the new shiny car. You get used to and so it's realizing that that's not what's going to make you happy.
Yeah, having everything you could ever dream before you're 30 is not all it's cracked up to be in a lot of cases. Well, Gelsey, if there are people listening who say, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, I want to be successful and y'all are losers working at amusement parks and making podcasts. You know what? Keep those thoughts to yourself. But if you have opinions on Easter Parade, where can they hit us up to let us know how much they like Easter Parade?
We all know I'm a big loser. Come on. I call myself a loser. You can find us on Instagram at @BeforeMyTime_podcast or on Facebook. Just search Before My Time. We will pop up right on our wall. DM us, comment on our latest post. Let us know what you love about Easter Parade, or maybe let us know any other MGM musical that you are crazy about. Also, if you have some time, we would love if you left a review, specifically maybe a 5-star, not trying to hit you, but hey, that gets us in front of more listeners just like yourself. We thank each and every one of you for tuning in every week and listening to us ramble on. Oh my God, words are hard. I had a late night and it's an early morning. I love you all. Keep being cool.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.